Okay. So I am doing a deaf ecosystem presentation on Matsuria, which is owned by Melody and Russ Stein. And you're probably wondering, what is Matsuria? Well, Matsuria is the definition of a deaf ecosystem. It is founded, run, and staffed by deaf members in the San Francisco and Washington, D.C. communities. So it has two different locations. The one in San Francisco is a food truck, and the one in Washington, D.C. is an actual, store. And Matsuria is Neapolitan style. It's pizza. The owners are technically open to hiring hearing staff, but they have to know American Sign Language. So it was designed with a very open and visual space for ease of communication. And basically, their whole point is to change the way that people perceive the deaf community. To show that it can thrive on its own and that it is a very interesting, involved community. They're starting small with big plans, but right now they have dine-in, delivery, and takeout at their DC location. The DC location opened in the middle of the pandemic, September 4th of this year, and within the first hour of the business being open, they had a long line and so many online orders, which I think is really cool. So here's their menu. Which, you can look at the whole thing if you want to, but I'm going to talk about some stuff that I thought was really interesting. So as you can see, they have brunch pizzas, they have sides, they have dessert, they have their classic 12-inch Neapolitan pizzas. They even, if you can see up there, they have gluten-free crust for people that might need it. They have cocktails, they have beer, they have wine, they have sparkling drinks. And of course, they have their non-alcoholic drinks for kids or just people that might not drink. They have coffee, they have tea, they have soda, they have water, just to sort of prove that this is, a legitimate restaurant, which they shouldn't have to prove that, but sadly they do. This is a full-on restaurant. The only difference is that it's run by deaf people. But I'm going to talk about some of the things that I thought were most interesting. Which one is the Matsuria bar, which is basically like a gigantic cheese stick bar, but it's about this wide and about this long, and it's fried cheese. You can't get any better than that. And then of course they have the classic margarita pizza, which if you look at their menu, it describes what it is. It's fresh mozzarella, grana padano, pomodoro, basil. So, it's basically your classic margarita pizza. And I mean, who doesn't love a good margarita pizza? And then their bombolino, which is their dessert. It's apple lemon curd, which if you don't know what a curd is, it's kind of like, it's not really a custard, but that's about the closest thing I can relate it to. Chocolate and cinnamon sugar. Doesn't that sounds absolutely amazing to me. Sounds so good. I'm so jealous I don't live near there. Whoa. And then, why you should purchase their products. It's a proud deaf ecosystem. So again, it's run by deaf people for deaf people. It's owned by deaf people. The CEO is deaf, CEO. It's a very proud deaf community. And, it's in, especially the DC location, it's in a deaf hot spot. Like, there's so many deaf people in DC. Like, it's one of the biggest populations. And part of that's because of Gallaudet University. But, you know, they picked an amazing location, you know, cater to what the people want. And they have a great commitment to spreading positivity about the deaf community. It's just good place to be if you're a deaf person. Here are some pictures. So the left top one is the restaurant. It's, and those are the two owners. That's the owners of both chains. I believe that was the day they opened. And then this down here, that's one of their classic pizzas. It's the marinara pizza. As you can see the basil, you can see the cheese, you can see the tomato sauce. It looks absolutely fantastic. It looks so delicious. And then these are my sources. But I want to talk a little bit more about, you know, just how far we've come and how much, like, doing the research on this has meant to me. You know, to me, it's amazing because, and I know I've said this probably 100 times over the course of this class, but it's amazing how far the deaf community has come. And, like, don't get me wrong, I never thought they were helpless. Like, I wasn't one of those people, but I'm almost proud for the deaf community just that they are able to achieve these kinds of things even with everybody else trying to hold them down. It's, for a long time I've felt a deep connection with the deaf community, and I'm just really grateful that I've had this opportunity to sort of research and learn and go beyond the normal understanding of the deaf community, and of course realize, like I said, they're not helpless, but just that they've achieved so much in a short period of time, and that they're going to keep on achieving and keep on growing. And I want to be a part of that. Even if I'm not deaf, you know, I want to witness everything that they're going to accomplish.